I would love to stick with the Big Ten. I would love to stick with the Big Ten over Alabama. I do have Florida beating Alabama later in the season, but unfortunately now I cannot pick Penn State to win this game. I did like what I saw from Rob Bolden. He was very impressive in his first start as a true freshman, which I believe is a first for Joe Pa to start a true freshman at the quarterback position. But I don't want to say I'm going to doubt Evan Royster, but he only put up 40 yards rushing last week. They're going to need a much bigger game out of him to go against that Alabama defense if they're going to have a chance, because Rob Bolden, as good as he looked last week, going to Alabama as a true freshman is a big test. I'm not sure if he's up to it. I know that they can't ride his shoulders to victory. Evan Royster really has to step up for them to have a chance, but I think Alabama has too many weapons on offense. You saw that Julio Jones catch last week. That was incredible. Greg McElroy, I believe, has not lost a game yet as a starter, and I don't think it's going to come this week either. Alabama wins.
I don't think he even lost a game as a high school
Hasn't
starter.
lost since 8th grade. That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. I know for sure. I think Alabama wins this game. If you're Penn State, you've got to be able to run the football, and you've got to be able to stop the run. And I know you can't base everything off Youngstown State, but they didn't run the ball well against Youngstown State, and they really didn't stop the run all that well either. They gave up big plays. They didn't make first tackles. I think the loss of the linebackers and losing some guys in that D-line really hurt Penn State in the long run. The secondary play is decent for Penn State, but in the end, even though Alabama only returns 2 starters on their defense, they have more depth and more talent. And like you said, Jake, McElroy, a starter who manages the game really well. He's the kind of guy you want to have at quarterback, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And then Julio Jones, big play wide receiver. We'll see what happens. Mark Ingram won't play, but Trent Richardson and Eddie Lacy, the backup running backs, will probably have a pretty big game against Penn State. I think this game ends 24-10, a little lower scoring, but Penn State just can't get it done.
Agreeing with both of you. I'm going to go Alabama. Another game that looks very interesting. This one even looks more interesting because of what the two teams did in week 1, and that's Michigan traveling to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. Mike, who do you like in this one?
I'll be brief. I think Dane Christ and Notre Dame get the job done 27-24. Armando Allen has a big day on the ground, and Denard Robinson isn't able to do what he did against UConn. I think Notre Dame and Manti Te'o on that defense are ready for it. Notre Dame 27-24 in a close game.
Well, it's early in the season. You know what that means. Notre Dame and Michigan are officially back until it gets to week 4 and they both lose. But this week they're still back. I think Michigan was more impressive in their opening win against who you had winning the Big East in UConn. Denard Robinson really impressed me, not just with his rushing ability, but with his passing ability. He was 19-21, very efficient through the air. I think they go into Notre Dame and they pull out a big win for the Big Ten.
Both of these teams just have a lot of talent, especially on offense. It could be one of those games where 1 or 2 big plays decide the entire game. I think this is a very even matchup, but I like Notre Dame's big players like Michael Floyd, leaves a very deep wide receiver crew. I like Kyle Rudolph. He's on the Mackey watch list, and I think he's one of the best tight ends in college football. And then Dane Christ, who started his first game last week against Purdue, didn't look too bad, 19-26 in the air, 205 yards, threw touchdowns, had no interceptions. And also Notre Dame's defense, I know they were playing Purdue, which usually Purdue has a fairly good offense. They had 2 interceptions forced. They had 4 sacks. I like Notre Dame at home, close win, big win for Brian Kelly. And that seat's going to start to get hot again for Rich Rodriguez. He enjoyed a nice little cool seat this week. Throw the heat back on it after this week. Let's talk about the Hawkeyes now. We got a big game coming up this weekend, too. We got a big rivalry game come up. We're taking on Iowa State. And you know, a lot's happened and a lot's changed since the year 2006, but one thing that hasn't happened for Iowa State is taking a football and crossing an end zone. They have not scored a touchdown on Iowa since that year. Mike, do you like the Hawks? Do you like Cyclones?
I like the Hawks in a little closer game. I think it'll be about 24-16. I think we'll get the job done. Few quick facts. Iowa leads the all-time series 39-18. We've won 2 straight. 229 NFL draft picks for Iowa, only 112 for Iowa State. Iowa State with only 3 bowl wins in their history. Iowa with 13. Just got to throw some of that stuff out there. This is a Hawkeye State. Iowa wins this game because they can run the football, and Ricky Stanzian is an experienced quarterback. Austin Arnaud in 2 starts against Iowa, no touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The Hawks win a big game here in Kinnick Stadium.
Jake, got about a minute to go. Who do you like?
Okay, I like Iowa as well. We have had some problems with Iowa State in the recent past. A lot of Iowa State fans like to bring up that they have won 7 of the last 12 games against Iowa, but if you expand that, they've won 7 of the last 27 because we won 15 in a row before that. We're going to start a new streak. It's going to be 3 in a row after this weekend. I like Jewel Hampton to return and have a big game, give us some depth at the running back position. Iowa wins going away.
Well, that Adam Robinson, the real A-Rob, and then Jewel Hampton, 1-2 punch. I like us to run the ball over them all day. Iowa State didn't look too bad in a win versus Northern Illinois, but their offense was pretty much non-existent the second half. I like Iowa's defense to make a big statement. 20-12, I like the Hawkeyes. I pick it close because it's Iowa State. They do got a lot of pride, but one thing they won't do is cross the end zone. It's going to be 4 years in a row. They won't score a touchdown.
Iowa State,
Hawkeyes win.
Weak defensive line. Our offensive line, I know, is trying to get together, but their defensive line, their front seven, not that strong. So I think our offensive line makes a statement.
You'd like to contact us, uioist@gmail.com. For Mike Rabin, Jake Burgers, I'm Alex Salzma. Good night and go Hawks.
1, 2, 3, go.